Glory, glory, hallelujah. I want to especially thank God for enabling every minister of God globally to see this day. And as I promised in our last broadcast, we are coming your way in another dimension. Now, I've come to discover that there are many mighty great churches that have been existing, and at the present day, nothing is happening again. There are some of them that were hosting up to like 1,000, 2,000 membership, but today they are at 50, some are 100, and it's still declining. Some of them have shut down, and there are many churches today for sale. Churches, building, the shares, equipment, everything has been put for sale. So it's dawned on me to make some research that what is really the cause of these happenings. Why should churches be shutting down? Why should churches be declining? And now that is why I came up with this teaching today. And is part one of this teaching. Movement to monuments. Now, when I say movement to monument, movement uh, in the sense that churches that were having a mighty wave of God, growth, multiplication, crowd, and mighty things happening. That is movement. Now, I will say monument. Monument is when a church have come to a point whereby there is decline, nothing happening again. Things that were happening, the mighty hand of God is no more there. There is lack of God's presence, and at times it leads to shutdown. Now, I have tried to list out some items here that have been the reason of these things. One, sin and scandals. Now, when the leadership falls into sin or do not deal decisively with sin, it will result into monument. Now, you see, I came to discover that when ministries and churches become so great, the leadership become careless. They assume that they have arrived. There's an assumption of satisfaction. And you see, the moment you get to that level of satisfaction, there's a decline. Temptations creep in. You see, so some of the leaders, the prayer lives begin to drop. The habit of studying begin to drop. Many things begin to decline in their life. And you know, the flesh will creep in. Surprisingly, I am not trying to bring down some servants of God, no, because I myself too, it is the grace of God that enables me to stand. But we have to take note. You know, there are some men of God today, they are so great, but they are having side chicks. They have girlfriends. You see, they cannot do that in their environment. They pick up guests, some of them travel with them outside their countries, go to other states, and begin to lavish love on these people and come back. You see, the moment a leader indulge in such type of sin, let me tell you, you are completely applying for monuments. And there's scandals. You see, the moment the leadership have been is battling with scandals. Either they are going out with women or women going out with men. There is fighting, there is quarrel, there is an enmity, there is malice, and there is all sort of funny things in the church. Then people begin to scandalize that church. And you see, the more the scandals creep into a church, you see, the members will be affected. There is no way you are hearing that your pastor is a womanizer. The person you say is your mother has men friends that sleeps around. It's a scandal. And he said these scandals will affect the faith, the confidence placed in the leadership. And when that happens, gradually you will see that people will drop in from the church. So I am coming your way today to announce to you sin and scandals. You see, they reduces the presence of God in your church. Now I wrote down something that I'm going to read for you. When the leadership falls into sin or fail to deal decisively with sin in the leadership, it will signal the withdrawal of God's presence in that church. So, as a servant of God, the higher you go, the more conscious you should be. You should be more conscious dealing with sins, dealing with your flesh. You see, the moment your flesh gains more ascendancy over your spirit, then doom is smelling. Monument is smelling in that church. So I'm going to advise you today that take decisive decisions over every secret sin in your life. Take a decisive decision to deal with scandals. You see, if you don't deal with these things, they will ruin your church. 2, pride and arrogance. You see, this is another great instrument that the enemy, the devil, is using in ravaging churches, ravaging leadership. Pride and arrogance. I wrote something here. It said, when pride, boasting, bragging have set in, God withdraws. You see, there is every tendency. We are in the flesh. We are in the flesh. The moment there is massive growth in your church, the moment there is massive presence in your church, the moment there is massive manifestation of God's presence, you see, there is tendency, the crowd is coming, your account balance is swelling, the cars are lining up, the gifts are spreading all over the place. If you don't deal with yourself properly, with this your flesh, pride will come in, arrogance will come in. A time will come, you begin to boast that as long as I'm concerned, I will never be poor. As long as I'm concerned, I am the richest pastor. As long as I'm concerned, I'm the most wealthiest pastor. You see, all these boasts are sign of arrogance. So do never in your life as a minister allow pride and arrogance. You see, the higher you go, the more humble you should become. The more simple you should become. But you see, the moment as a minister, you have grown so much that you are started putting up boils under your armpit, that your shoulders have become high, that the boils cannot allow your hands to come down. And when you are moving like a peacock. You see, danger is smelling in your church. Pride will set you for God to resist you. And the moment God resists you, what happens? It is falling. It is falling. Why? Pride goeth before destruction. Pride goeth before falling. Arrogance goeth before dangers take over any church. I wrote something down here that I'm going to read to you. It said, when pride, boasting, and bragging are setting, God will move out. It said, many great moves of God have ended simply because of what? Pride and arrogance. Many great moves. Many churches that have been so great, that have been doing well, signs and wonders all over the place. Great move of God happens, and it attracts people from globally to that church. I know of churches that people fly from other countries to go and have services with them. But just because of pride and arrogance, those churches have come down. Well, I want to end here today. My advice is that every servant of God that is being lifted up by God, the higher you go, the more you should deal with sin and scandals. The more you should deal with pride and arrogance. If you don't deal with these two items, they will turn that movement to monument. But I pray for you today that this is not going to be your portion. No matter how you are going, I decree that humility will envelop you, that God will lift you beyond your imaginations. Thank you very much. This is just part one of this broadcast. We are coming your way again with part two in our next broadcast. It's going to be explosive. God bless you as you follow us in our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all the rest of them. Follow us and you are going to enjoy our teachings and grow as God has demanded for you. Bye bye.